Okay, hello everyone. Hi. I see we have a member of our public with us today, as well as Robert Barone and Robert Ovadia. How are you guys? Nice to see you.
Well, how are you doing?
I'm
Good
good.
afternoon. Very good.
Yeah, good. I think we're waiting for Vice Mayor to join again. We've got another 30 seconds or so.
Spend a few moments trying to arrange the Hollywood squares so the council are all at the top.
Can you do that?
Yeah, you can drag the photo wherever you want.
You do that or we
Oh,
do?
you can do that. You can do that on your end. You can drag your photo or anybody else's photo anywhere on the square set.
Well, okay then, let's see. Okay, Mona, you're gonna get replaced. Well, I was gonna try, it's not working.
Click on the square on their picture and drag it into anywhere on your Hollywood squares.
Yeah. It's not working for me.
It's that techno skill that I got, I guess.
Do you have it in gallery view, Mayor Lewis?
I do.
It works for me.
If you also click on the top right, it says release video order too. So that might be another aspect of rearranging.
I think we're all here.
We are.
Okay, good. So I'm going to call the regular study session meeting of the City Council, Town of Atherton to order at 4 p.m. May we have a roll call, please, Anthony?
You may, Councilmember Hawkins,
Here.
Councilmember DeGolia.
I see a shadow.
I see him making his way.
Sorry, I was muted.
No worries. There's Councilmember DeGolia, Widmer,
Yeah,
Vice Mayor Lempres,
I'm here.
and Mayor Lewis.
I'm here. Okay, great. Thank you very much. So the next item is public comments. Anthony, would you like to explain how publics can make comments?
Certainly. So for any members of the public joining, if you joined by Zoom link, you can click the participants button at the bottom of your screen and raise your hand. You'll be called on to make a comment. We have a 3-minute rule. We'll give you a warning or two. If you'd like, you can also make a comment in the public chat and preferably send it directly to me. If you're calling in by phone, you can dial *9 on the receiver, and that will allow you to raise your hand and be recognized for making a public comment. But at this time, I didn't receive any in advance, and I don't see any members of the public with their hand raised, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Item number 3 is a report out of closed session. Mona, our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor Lewis. The City Council did meet in closed session today. There was no public comments in advance of adjourning, and there was no reportable action.
Okay, great, thank you. So item number 4 is going to be interesting how we handle this and interesting to hear from everyone. So I'm looking forward to it. It's ad hoc subcommittee and liaison reports, brief reports from each member of the council. And so who would like to go first? We don't have to go in any specific order. Somebody would like to volunteer to go first. I think Councilmember DeGolia, we've got a problem with your video. No? All right. Okay,
It
that's
looks like he's not in the, oh no, there he is.
okay, good. All right. So,
Madam Mayor, you could go down the list. Some of them may have no reports, and then you can just check them off.
what list?
In the staff report, there's a list of ad hoc committees, town committee assignments, and then the regional board assignments.
Oh, okay, sure. Oh, that list. We're talking about the list of council members. Okay. Let me get to that.
Some of them have recently reported out to the council, so there'll be no updates.
It's the second page of the staff report,
Thank
Elizabeth.
you. Yeah, I've got it.
Okay.
Okay, so the ad hoc subcommittees, how about Councilmember DeGoya and Councilmember Hawkins Manwilliam, the renovation of the historic train station?
Well, we reported on that last time, so there isn't much new from, that was on our session just the last meeting, so there's not much new on that just yet.
Okay, sea level rise, that's you and me, and we have not met with sea level rise issues at all. So IT subcommittee, Councilmember DeGoya and Councilmember Widmer, any updates on that?
We have, as you saw in George's report, he would like us to get together. There's been a number of, issues, as there has been for a number of years, for the placement of equipment. And also, more recently, there've been a lot of resident complaints, and rightfully so, with regards to the stringing of the cables makes us look like a third world country with the way that they're doing it, where they're leaving things stranded, hanging down, not cleaned up, etc. So it'd be nice if we could, get together and discuss perhaps how we would like to see it, and then meet with perhaps somebody from AT&T, and of course we can always meet with Atherton Fiber. They're also one of the culprits. With talking to them about perhaps being a tad more tidy and bringing some satisfaction to some of the residents until we can find a way to get everything underground.
Okay, thank you. Well, Council Member Hawkins Manwilliam and I did a little tour around Atherton a few days ago, took pictures. She drove, I was the photographer, and we found lots of low-hanging fruit, if you might, put it that way. Do you have anything to
What
add?
do you mean? That's not clear. What you mean?
Oh.
Hanging wires?
Diana, would you like to kind of explain?
Yeah, there's a lot of spots in the city where it's really unacceptable. There's one in particular where there's literally a nest of exposed wires and things that are held up by rope. And it really, really is a mess. So it's not acceptable at all. And we were not clear who's all at fault because they have shared poles, but there are certain spots where it's particularly bad. There was one at Elena that we took photos of. So it is something we should address, I think.
Well, perhaps y'all could.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. Can I ask Mona? Mona, are we getting into Brown Act territory issues or no?
I think we're okay still. They're just reporting out. I'm still comfortable right now.
Okay, thank you.
So if you send us the pictures, that way it'd be very helpful for.
George has all the pictures. We
Oh,
sent.
great.
a
All right,
lot.
great.
Yeah, I
And-
already did that.
And so just to be clear, the problem you're identifying is Elena and Atherton Avenue?
Well,
Or
there's more.
Elena and Valparaiso, or somewhere in between?
It's all over, Rick.
It's really all over. I mean, it's along Middlefield. There's, just a lot of,
There's
Yes.
probably 25 or 30 places that is very untidy. So we should talk to AT&T, and we should talk to Atherton, Atherton now, Atherton Fiber to find a way to maybe clean things up and make the residents happier. I don't think it takes much effort.
We were also looking, we were responding to a citizen who was concerned about the boxes that were going in. And there was one spot, but the house that was too close. And in doing some research, the houses can't be more than, 400 meters from the actual box There were places where that was true. There was one on El Camino Real, and then there was one where the house was too close, but it was not, it was right on the Atherton border. So the house itself was in Menlo Park. But that's something that might be worth following up as well.
Yeah, they're supposed to have a permit saying, proving that they've measured it and they're in compliance with the requirements. I talked to George about that the other day. And so we can add that to our list and just verify.
Great.
Okay. The next ad hoc subcommittee was multi-jurisdictional Stanford Working Group for Diana and me, and there is no meetings. The next is COVID-19 restart with Councilmember Widmer and Vice Mayor Lempres.
Mike and I have met several times with George, and as you know, that information gets published in our Friday meeting, and George publishes it. And the next one's going to be on June 15th.
Okay, thank you. How about the Surf Air, Vice Mayor Lempres and Councilmember Widmer?
I get regular updates from the airport. I'm now starting to suspect that perhaps they're not as accurate as we would hope. And when Mike gets back into town, I was going to suggest to Mike, and in fact, I even sent an email earlier this week suggesting that perhaps we might get together with Mike Callaghy and have another discussion on this, just to understand really where they're going. The majority of the flights have shifted over to Oakland, but there are a number of early morning flights, and especially on like a Sunday, there's a substantial number of flights that I don't think are being counted.
One other quick observation is simply Surf Air traffic's been down because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I think because of the pandemic. Now that that's over or ending, I think we expect to see there's a chance at least traffic will increase again. So this is a good time to get on it.
Yeah.
If not from
Makes
Surf Air,
sense.
there's other air taxi services that are, coming up.
Yeah, but Surf Air stands out. It makes sense to focus on it now while we're beginning to come out of this thing, because it is likely that the traffic will increase.
Yeah. And it has. The reports show it has, but I think that they're sending out the same report every week, and I'm not sure it's updated properly.
The next ad hoc committee is the naming and donor recognition. Councilmember DeGoya and Councilmember Widmer.
Well, the council's taken action on this, and it concerns both the fountains and the pathway for the brick pathway between the council chambers. I think we had discussion at the last council meeting, but my understanding is that you and Diana went up to Silvestri to look at what they had, so it would be appropriate for you to report on that trip.
It's coming up. It's on the list here.
It's not on the list, actually.
No, it is. It's the last one on the ad hoc.
Oh, I see. Fountain selection. Okay, so then that means that ours is just the brick pathway, I guess. And we talked about it.
Right. So George mentioned to me the suggestion based on Mr. Polito's comments of paying in a little bit more to get to a different level. And so I will take the opportunity to speak with Sandy and if necessary, Dee Dee, about being able to contact people who are below the 10,000 level or others as we see fit, or to see if they want a last chance to kind of up the ante, so to speak, and get a bigger plaque or get a brick, where they weren't going to get a brick and things like that.
Okay. Refuse services, Councilmember Widmer and Councilmember DeGoya.
Rick and I met and did a postmortem of the transition. Things were going quite well. And I periodically touch base with Omar, who is the service rep for us, and he's doing a great job meeting with people. George also says the same thing. Our next meeting, I believe, is going to be mid-year. So there's nothing we have only had the one meeting.
Okay. Can I ask a question about, I've had residents talk to me about their feeling a little skeptical that the composting procedures and the compostables, food waste, is really effectively being gathered, and how are they doing that? And, you know, is there a way that we can take a tour of the facility and kind of get a, you know, a first, you know, a review of how they're actually taking our refuse and sorting it and doing that?
They offered during the, you know, the customer briefings in January and late December that currently they're doing, and we can arrange virtual tours at this time. And then when they're ready to open up everything, I'm sure that they will allow people to go in, just like what they do up at Recology. And many of our residents had taken advantage of that. The processing facility is down in San Jose.
Right.
But we can contact them and get a virtual tour set up, and yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah, I think that some of our residents would really like to take that, and I know that I would. So when the time is right, maybe when I'd actually, rather than just a virtual tour, I'd like to actually go.
Okay, well, we need to wait till they reopen their facility.
Of course.
You know, yeah.
Of course. Thank you. Okay, fountain selection. Diana, you want to give a little report on our field trip? You're on, yeah, unmute.
We went up to take a look at the ones that were available there, and we discussed ways of taking them, and they were a little bit shy. We went up with the drawings from the architect, ideally the architect one drawing would look like it should be 72 inches roughly, which was not the size of the fountains that were there. So we discussed the idea of creating a base for it. And I think it's being handed back to the architect to come back and do some drawings for us that are to scale, so we can address the scale issue and put that to rest. But we selected the same fountain that was selected by the previous committee.
Which one was that? Because we presented a whole group of fountains.
Elizabeth, do you remember the name of it?
Was it 1613 or something like that? The one that was on the left?
Yes,
That was the one.
It has a octagonal type of a base of pond, if you will, and or half of an octagonal, and it really has a very nice form to it. I don't have the.
Oh, maybe is it called the Chateau?
Is it the Chateau? Yeah.
And then the other thing was the colors, because the colors that were given to us by the architect didn't match the colors that the fountain was actually available in.
George, do you have the image of that one?
I'm working on that.
Yeah. And the fact that we really looked at the site plan that was presented by the architect, this is going to be in a landscaped, fully landscaped area. People are not going to be walking past it. Because it's in a landscaped area, you know, against the wall of the building. And so to create, when you put a big fountain like that in a dirt area, you've got to create a base for it, and, you know, rebar, concrete, solid base. And Diana was saying, well, maybe we can kind of create a little bit higher base, maybe even a stepped up kind of a environment that matches the outline of the base of the pond of the fountain, so that it raises it up and gives it a little bit more presence, because it still is a little short comparatively speaking to the large wall as it appeared on the architect's rendering to us. And so John Schuttler was not able to attend, but he is, and I know Pauline is asking him to create a little visual so that we can actually look at that, right?
Correct. The one other thing I would add is that it came to our attention that there was a police gate door that was very close to where the fountain was going to be. And the materials for that gate, because it's right in this line of sight of the fountain, were not listed in a way that we could figure out what they were. So that's another to-do item, is to find out what is that gate made of and what does it look like.
It's not a gate. I mean, it's a door. They call it a gate, but it's like a,
Security door, right?
a secured door gate. Yeah. And so we don't know what that looks like. We don't have the specifications on, and it's right there at the front corner of the building. And it's not even like set back. I mean, if it were set back, 3 or 4 feet from the absolute corner of the building, because what you're going to see is this gate to the left, on the left corner. So that's the one, not the woman with the swan, but
Okay.
isn't that Diana with the swan? Anyway, if you look at this architectural rendering, and we see this door, which is right against that front corner of the building, and then you're going to have the fountain, see, like that.
The door goes not to the building, but to the secured police parking.
Right.
Okay, and you see that as a problem, having a door there?
No, we just wanted to see what the materials was, because it's right in line of sight where the fountain is. So we were just trying to find out what it was.
Problem if it's a really ugly door, and if it's right there.
As you can, from that drawing that he just had up, what you were showing is the idea that we're going to raise it up so that it lines up with the top of the height of the windows that are to the right of it. And we can do that by 1 base or maybe 2, which is very common actually in these kind of wall mounted things. So that.
Okay, George, can you put it back up for a minute?
Yep.
That's a really bad drawing. Sorry. It was microscopic, and I was trying to draw on it with a pen. So
Wait, so what is currently the fountain is everything except the top 2 layers, is that right?
The
bottom 2 layers?
The bottom 2 layers are steps. Yes, they're steps. And we did not, this is again, not done to accurate scale. So maybe that we only need 1 step. And the other idea that was floated around was taking the tiles that are on the, what's it called? The not the treads. What's the other part of the stair?
Risers.
Risers, thank you. We have inside the building, we have tiles, Spanish tiles that are on the risers. So one idea might be to do those with those same tiles, which would then determine the exact site of the step. So I think we've asked the architect to do it both ways. Here's
So I take it wouldn't change.
Can I interrupt everybody? I think that we've kind of stepped over a line here in discussing all of this without it being. And I've been advised that I think we need to wrap this up and continue on with just our ad hoc report outs and not the discussions.
This is coming back to the full council on the 16th.
Right, with real drawings, not this. There'll be a real drawing.
Not to circumvent anybody's opinion, but I was advised that we're not supposed to have a lot of discussion on these report outs. Okay, so let's go on down to the City Council Town Committee assignments and liaisons and alternatives. We've got Audit Finance Committee, Lewis and Vice Mayor Lumpers. Go ahead.
Well, we got it. Really nothing to report. We're meeting regularly, and you're going to hear more about it later today.
Exactly. Yeah, everybody's been involved. Okay, how about the Bike Ped Committee, Councilmember Widmer and DeGolia?
We met yesterday, and we're looking forward to getting new members when we appoint them. We covered a series of things, the transportation plan, the transportation survey, some of the issues there. We went over the police reports with Sergeant Metzger was there. We talked about some old business that was covered by the Transportation Committee a while ago. I spoke to Mike about that today. That is about it. Oh, and yeah, that's it. Our next meeting is going to be at the end of July, if everybody shows up.
Environmental Programs Committee. Diana, you want to give a little report out on that?
Yeah, they swore in some new members at the last meeting. They're very excited about the new sustainability person that we're hiring. And they're going forward with our approval to make a little plaque for a tree to be planted. They picked one that's already in the plan. So they abandoned the idea of planting in a new tree, but instead picked the one they already had. And they're also planning a mailing of seeds to go to everyone's home, and on it will be environmental information and links to our website. And there was a big discussion to make sure they were indigenous. One of our new members is a master gardener, which is awesome. So she has a lot of information about, will be able to help guide us that we don't send in, some seeds that are invasive species. So that's happening, and they're working on that. And trying to think of what else they had. That's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Park and Recs Committee, Councilmember DeGolia, you still there?
Park and Rec. We're going to get a detailed report from Alex Kay, who's the chairman of the committee. I think that comes at this month's regular meeting. So that'll be quite thorough. Basically, what the committee has been dealing with is the circulation plan, which the architects are working on, and the concept will come to the council, I think, in June also. And that's the plan for that is to begin implementation of that once we remove the temporary buildings in the North Lawn parking lot. Also, the committee has been engaged with both the Hammerhead turnaround and the new lighting, which have been in the budget for a couple of years and never been moved on, but I believe that they are being moved on now. And the same with the bathrooms in the pavilion. And the other thing the committee has dealt with are the bathrooms in the carriage house, which aren't being dealt with. And I don't think there's a current plan to deal with them. I think we're trying to get the contractors doing the bathrooms in the pavilion to expand the bid to include the carriage house, but that hasn't come back to the committee. And then the final thing I'd say that the committee has spent a fair amount of time on is concern about just how the park is being cared for in general. And the observation has been discussed in the committee several times that with the opening of the town center, there's going to be a much more area of green open space in the town center than there had been in the past, and that it would make sense to have somebody manage the two of those. And I think that's coming to the council. And that's pretty much it for that committee.
Okay, thank you. Rail Committee, Vice Mayor Lumpers and Councilwoman Hawkins-Williams.
Sorry, I stepped on you there. I apologize, Elizabeth. I'm so excited to get started. We had a meeting last night. There are 4 vacancies in the committee. Two of the existing members, I believe, will be applying. But anyway, that had some topic of, that was topic conversation. The issues for the rail committee are slowly changing, but they're changing in multi-year segments. There was discussion about high-speed rail with the representative of the California High-Speed Rail Authority last night. there was, I'm sorry, a lot of interest in the train station and the role of the rail committee as plans are developed to do something with the station. And then all the other issues that I think everybody in the council is familiar with, you know, a touch up on quiet zone and an update on electrification.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go on to regional agencies and board assignments. ABAG. Diana?
Yeah, there's not a lot to report right now, but this month that they're going to be extremely active. They're coming out with their Bay Area 2050 report, and we'll start having public hearings over the next month. There will be a special meeting for the San Mateo County and San Francisco later this month. So they're starting to get that information out. They also are working on an environmental report as part of that, and an implementation plan report. So all these reports are imminent. If you click on the website now, they're not clickable, but I think that within the next couple of weeks, they're all going to be available, and I'll be glad to report back to everybody after I've had a chance to read those as to how it will impact us.
Okay, I'll just add one thing to that. Well, I'll give it a report at the next one about the CCAG, because the Plan Bay Area 2050 is part of that also. Thank you, Diana. CalMod Local Agency Policymaker Group, Vice Mayor and Councilmember Widmer.
I'll defer to the vice mayor since he's the senior member.
Senior. It's.
Have they been meeting?
They have been meeting by Zoom. I think there have been 2 meetings since the start. Our most recent meeting was canceled, but there were 2 meetings, and I actually don't have a lot to report about what they're, you know, what it's doing. Atherton is, you know, we have a role, but these issues are not primary and front for us. We're not front and center in these issues for the most part.
Okay. All right. CCAG, that would be me and Vice Mayor Lempres. So on May 24th, there was a special board meeting specifically to receive 3 large update reports with PowerPoint presentations. One was the Plan Bay Area 2050. The overview, and it is a very detailed PowerPoint. I think it would be very helpful if I mean, you can find it if you go on the websites and this and that and everything, but I can send everybody the link. It's very well organized. You know, there are 4 elements of the plan strategy having to do with transportation, housing, economic, and environmental. And so I would encourage us all to, you know, read that. And like Diana said, ABAG is going to be working on that too. But it's kind of staggering what's being planned. The other one is reimagining Samtrans, because as everybody knows, in the pandemic, their ridership just crashed and burned. And there's like, you know, they're still running these buses with 1 rider at a time. And so their 3 core elements are trying to improve the experience for the rider, to grow new and more frequent ridership, and to build efficiency and effectiveness in their in as a mobility provider. So there, you know, the woman giving the presentation is just high energy about all the different ways they're going to try to make Samtrans come back and be vibrant. The next big presentation had to do with the 101 Express Lane project, and an update. I think most significant is that they will begin the tolling system testing this summer, soon, in that north area, north of Whipple. So again, it's this report comes to CCAG like every month, And so it's just, the report on all the construction that's happening there. And it's exciting how we're going to have this express lane and tolling system coming through our corridor there. And hopefully it'll help traffic to move more smoothly. Then on the 28th, Friday, there was the city selection committee having to appoint members on ABAG and LAFCO. And as the mayor, I got to vote to reinstate 2 regular members for the executive board, one being Giselle Hale from Redwood City and Carlos Romero from East Palo Alto. And then alternates are Sam Hindi from Foster City and Risha Aswati from Foster City for ABAG. And then LAFCO, Harvey Rohrbach from Half Moon Bay was reappointed. The meeting, City Council of Cities, was sponsored by the City of Belmont, and it was a hybrid event. There were some people in the Belmont Event Center to have cocktails and then, meet and greet people with masks on. And then they went on a driving hike through some of the parks. And then there were people like me that attended via Zoom. So I think that we're going to see more of this kind of regional meetings because the people that were on Zoom were either from cities on the coast and the driving across to come and be at these various cities is hard. It's a hardship sometimes. So the town of Atherton has signed up for hosting the Council of Cities Friday evening dinner in September. I think it's September 29th, September 24th. So I guess a question is, yeah, we've got fingers crossed raising up. There is a meeting October 29th that City of Menlo Park has agreed to host. I could, if we felt that we wanted to push it off to October 29th, I could, yeah.
That would be better if we could flip it, then we might have a better shot of being in the Newtown Center.
Okay. And then, again, there is November 19th, but that's pretty close to, anyway, I think if I can switch it to October, that would be a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay. That's CCAG. Grand Boulevard Task Force is, it's really not a committee anymore. They closed up in 2019. Holbrook Palmer Park Foundation, Widmer and DeGoya.
Yeah, we've been meeting regularly once a month, doing a membership drive, planning on sending out all the renewals because some of that has fallen by the wayside during the pandemic. So restart that. And then we've expanded the board membership. Mr. Jessup is now part of it, and we've reached out to MALL to also play a part on the board since they're actually 2 of the biggest users of the park. We're always doing fundraising, and we're also planning on what we're going to do next as far as a donation to the town through the park. And that if we come up with something, obviously, Frank or somebody will come with a presentation to the board, to the council, and you guys will have a chance to say yes or no. And so hopefully that will happen in the next couple months. So.
Okay. The League of California Cities, that would be Diana and Bill.
There is a big convention coming up for mayors and council members. I don't, since I'm new to this, I don't know if we all go to that or how all that works. So I was gonna follow up with George on how that works.
Yeah, we go if we can. There's normally 2 or 3 a year. Well, actually 3. There's one in January. There's one that's in Sacramento. There's generally one in Monterey in June. And the big one is in September or early October. And if it can be in person, it will be at Long Beach, which they signed a couple of years ago, a 4-year contract with the Long Beach Convention Center. So as opposed to having it move back and forth as it had been, it's been stagnant down in Long Beach. So
Isn't that where the,
at the Hyatt there.
I know, but isn't that convention center where all the migrant children are being housed?
Yeah, so I said, we don't know whether or not there's going to have one. So
Library JPA, Rick?
Yeah, so the library, has been mostly consumed with dealing with the COVID crisis and how to support its customers during this. There's also an extensive building program going on. Brisbane opened its new library a month or 2 ago, which is a zero net energy library, and they're very proud that it's LEED certified, and it's a lovely looking library. You should go on the website and take a look at it, or go and visit it if you have a chance. It's comparable to Half Moon Bay as a really outstanding building. There is a conceptual design for a new library in East Palo Alto, which will go fairly close to the fire department's building at Pulgas and Bay Road. And it's a beautiful building. That's at a conceptual stage. And there's also conceptual design for a new library in Pacifica, which hasn't been shown to the governing board yet. The only other 2 things I'll mention is that the library, San Mateo County Libraries, took over the Redwood City North Fair Oaks Library and will be providing that library service going forward. That library is on El Camino and Douglas. And the library during COVID used all of its 3D printers to create face shields and other protective gear for library staff and for county staff. And that was a very successful program. So that's the full report that I've got on the library.
Okay, very well done. Menlo Park Fire Protection District. Rick, that's you again, and Diana.
Well, the fire board seems to have an enormous number of meetings. It's amazing. Diana can comment on it, but it seems to me like there's a meeting a week, and half of them are closed and half of them are open. And part of the reason for that is they've needed to hire somebody to replace Chief Schoppelhoman, and they've decided to promote Mike Schaefer, who's been a longtime deputy fire chief, to be the interim fire chief, effective when Schoppelhoman finishes his 41-year term in June. The other thing that's particularly relevant to us is that there was a long discussion at the fire board meeting about whether or not to engage architects to design an accessory building project for the 28 Almondral property next to Fire Station 3. Fire Station 3 is a 3,600 square foot fire station. The property at 28 Almondral is basically an acre. I think it's slightly less than an acre. And they, at the meeting, approved a $1.25 million price tag to have the architect design a 1,200 square foot accessory structure, which is essentially a garage. And that garage will house exercise equipment for the firefighters and a vehicle and some EMS, emergency response supplies, that are currently stored in a closet at the fire station, which they want to free up. And that at the last full board meeting, they authorized that. There was a special meeting today, which occurred during our closed session. And that meeting was to discuss priorities and options for Station 1. As you are no doubt aware, they're in the middle of rebuilding Station 4. I mean, it's been completely torn down. If you've driven on Alameda de las Pulgas, one lane is basically usually inaccessible, the right-hand lane, because right in front of the fire station, because they're building a new fire station there. And they had bought the property behind the fire station, so this will be a drive-through fire station, so the trucks won't have to back into it like they do at Station 3 on Almondrall. Diana, do you want to add anything?
The things that I've seen that I've been happy about is they've made a concerted effort to have an emergency meeting to discuss with the volunteers, because this was one of the areas of personal interest to me, is how they were dealing with communications going all the way down to all the different districts we have, those emergency assembly points. So they also had a meeting, which I did not attend, just I think it was yesterday, about emergency response, and they met with the various volunteer groups. So I'm hoping to follow up and hear what came out of that. I think that was something I'd like to see them focus on. And they had hired a consultant to do that, what they're calling a 360, looking at emergency response.
So where are you guys with regards to the items that we put together that you were discussing with Virginia, and they were going to bring it to the board and come back to us with that? That'd be something very interesting for us to have heard about.
Yeah, basically, there doesn't appear to be any interest to pursue it.
I thought that our subcommittee that was supposed to follow up on that was disbanded. So I think that's why that didn't get followed up on.
It was you and Rick that was carrying it forward. That's why I
Right,
thought
that's
you
why
guys
we
were going to
disbanded.
report on that. We didn't disband you.
That's not true. We were just created to create an agenda for the meeting that we
Yes.
had. So
And we
once
didn't get-
that meeting was finished, we no longer had a charter.
That's right. That's kind of where it was left. So until we all get, say, yes, go forward, that our agenda was just to come up with a discussion point for that meeting.
Thank you for the reports. How about PCC, the High Speed Rail Peninsula Cities Consortium? That would be Lumpers and Widmer. I don't think you guys are meeting. That's kind of an old committee, isn't it?
It's an old committee. It's an old committee. And, of course, obviously, once the electrification is gone, then the plan is for them to come up here. But the question is, are they going to follow?
Right.
The direction that Jerry Hill and others, I forget who the other senator was, got an agreement that that's what they would do. But, things change over time. And they're moving very slowly. I get weekly reports from the high-speed rail. I'm happy to share them with you if you'd like. They're very boring.
Daily reports from High Speed Rail.
Yes.
Yeah.
I get actually they're daily.
They are daily.
reports.
I know. They're daily reports. Okay.
That's what $80 billion a buy.
Say again. Well, there's a lot to report on. Peninsula Clean Energy. Rick,
Well,
you're the chair.
yeah, there's always a lot happening at Peninsula Clean Energy. And by a lot,
A little overview. I mean, you could go on for an hour and a half, I think.
probably. I mean, the biggest thing that Peninsula Clean Energy is doing is we've launched we were very slow to launch programs. We wanted to build an economic base to ensure that we would be stable and economically sound. And we are. We've got 200 days of operating cash in the bank, which is about a little less than $200 million. We are probably the most stable CCA in California. And that's a big deal because Riverside CCA just declared bankruptcy. And given what's happened with the PCIA, the exit fee that the California Utilities Commission, which basically supports the big utilities, given what they've done with that, they increased it 35% this year, and it represents 40% of the bill that you and I pay to PG&E for our generation. So PCE discounts its generation by 50% compared to PG&E. That's made up. You don't get a 50% discount. You only get a 5% discount because 45% of that goes to pay the PCIA, which is the exit fee that PCE covers. The biggest program that PCE launched since we started launching programs is a program called EV Ready, which is a charging program where we have a commitment to deploy 3,600 chargers in San Mateo County. And there is $20 million that is being invested in that program. 12 million from PCE, 8 million from the California Energy Commission. And when we announced the program, and there's different types of chargers that are being supported. They're multifamily dwelling chargers, they're business chargers, and there's public location chargers. And the business and public location chargers are supported by both PCE and the Cal EVP VIP program, where there's a substantial contribution that's made for anybody who wants to do a charger. And I mean, this is the big part of the $20 million. That was announced, and within 10 minutes of the first time that somebody could sign up, all the money was committed. So it ended up that there were a significant number of businesses that didn't get the benefit. And so we have created a new program that leverages the state of California's efficient fuel program, which is a rebate that the Air Resources Board provides to efficient fuel solutions, that you can get access that money with chargers. And so we modified our charger program to include that, and that's being basically marketed to those people that didn't get the support because they didn't make it in the first 10 minutes, which is kind of ridiculous, but it's obviously extremely popular. That's our biggest program. I'd say the second biggest thing that we've been dealing with, other than we're in the middle of a CEO review, which is quite comprehensive, we helped form a new JPA, which is made up of 10 different CCAs. And the aggregate customer number represented by these 10 CCAs exceeds PG&E's customer number. So it's a very substantial group, and the purpose for it is to get lower cost on the projects that we want to pursue. And the first RFP that we've gone out with is for long-term storage. And long-term means longer than 4 hours. And it's not focused on batteries. I mean, batteries are one possible solution, and we got 43 responses to that RFP. Batteries are one solution, but so is pumped water, pumped up to a reservoir, a whole molten salt. There's a whole variety of potentials. Very significant, very large project, because everybody needs long-term storage if we're going to supply clean energy during the time that the sun doesn't shine. And we can't do it right now. And we've got a commitment to provide clean energy 24 hours a day. And that doesn't mean buying credits and then using them in the evening, which is what everybody does right now. But nobody is able to provide clean energy when the sun doesn't shine, except for a few hours when they can get power from wind. So that's a really big program. I feel really proud that we're pursuing it. It's hundreds of millions of dollar program. We are also very active in creating programs to give rebates to people who convert their buildings from dependence on natural gas to dependence on electricity. And we are about to launch a program for community solar for distributed energy resources in San Mateo County, where we have a commitment to generate 25 megawatts of power. And that hasn't started, but we're looking at the airport in where Surf Air lands, and we looking at other open space in San Mateo County where we could do substantial community solar solutions. And I guess the other thing we're doing is we're in the process of adding storage to the Wright Solar Project. The Wright Solar Project is the Los Banos production facility, which is a 200 megawatt solar level production that supplies us with 15% of our electricity. And that's the largest solar facility in the state that a CCA participated in. That's it.
Excellent report. Excellent report. Okay, the next one is a long one. I'm going to say commute.org.
Yeah, it is commute.org. They've had an interesting year, as you might expect, given the lack of commuting and public transportation generally. And I think they've chosen to take advantage of that in a really impressive way. They've just completed a strategic review. It's called, I think, the 2025 plan, where they're looking at where they want to be in 2025 and what do they need to do and how should they be different. There's a greater emphasis on diversity, on inclusion, trying to make sure that it's not simply focused on commuters to the large tech hubs, but it's helping other people who need to go that last mile from public transportation. Doing a lot of things like that. So they've been doing that. I should have mentioned, I'm sorry, Diana, I kind of cut you off. Diana actually attended a meeting about a month or so ago. Is that right? Did you want to add anything to what I just said?
I think you kind of summarized it. That particular one I attended, they were talking a lot about equity. That was the big issue that they were addressing in that particular meeting. But Madam Mayor, before we get off all of this, can I report back on, I remember two important things from the environmental that I've forgotten to mention. So if I can have a minute at the end, sorry.
All right, when we're finished with our list here, okay? Yeah. Okay, thank you, Vice Mayor, on that report. The San Francisco Airport Roundtable, that would be Councilmember Widmer and Councilmember Lempres.
Yeah, there's a meeting tonight. So hopefully we're going to get through the rest of the agenda fairly quickly. And the big topic is, again, talking about, is it possible to have Palo Alto join, even though they're not part of San Mateo County? And you may think, well, that's kind of a gimme. You should be able to do that. But I mean, there's been a lot of people that weighed in on why they don't want that to happen, including, Congresswoman Eshoo. So I think I've come up with a way for them to participate without violating any senior members of Congress with their opinion to have them included, because they come to the meeting all the time. They do share the same airspace that, for example, where I'm living. You know, the noise, overhead noise is the big thing for us down here in the southern part of the county. The roundtable was created in the beginning for just, only the communities that were around the airport getting ground-based noise were the ones that were in that membership. And at that time, it was Vice Mayor Conway that decided, you know, he pushed for inclusion of the southern communities. So we're trying to bring more emphasis on, you know, total noise issues for the airport without diluting it and having it become a regional issue, including San Jose Airport, et cetera. So anyway, and the meetings normally last 3+ hours. Very exciting. I appreciate being opposed to this. Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
You're very welcome. It is like Groundhog Day. Okay. San Mateo County Sub-Regional Housing Policy Advisory. That would be me and you. And there's really, we haven't had a meeting about the RENA allocations at this time.
No. But I think that every council member needs to be aware there are a number of, and I'm sure you are, of Senate bills that are floating around. The suspense file, you know, if something gets in the suspense file or it doesn't get in the suspense file by the end of this week, then, you know, it will continue on with a life of its own. Hopefully some of these compromises to change some of those bills, SB 9, SB 10, will occur. Obviously, we need to do something with our housing element as well, as we, you know, so the mayor has pointed out. But that's kind of where we are. So I'm keeping an eye on those. I get daily briefings on those. So
I'm wanting to write a letter to our senators and, you know, Senator Josh Becker, as well as Mark Berman and the governor in opposition to SB 9 and AB 1401 specifically. So
hopefully we get it out this week.
Yeah. Okay. San Mateo County Emergency Services.
We've had exactly one meeting. And the focus was on the charter that it's moved from reporting into the sheriff's office to now it reports to the county manager, Mike Callaghy. And so we have to change the charter, but it's very appropriate because, you know, like during the pandemic, the EOCs, as we all know, EOCs is run by the manager of the jurisdiction. And so and the sheriff's office is now a part of that and under the heading of the county manager. So that's the big news that happened as of January 1st. And so we're having the district attorney, the deputy district attorney has drafted some potential, or he is in the process of drafting potential charter changes, and we'll look at those, and that will be in the next meeting, which I haven't gotten the invite for yet, but it's coming up.
Okay. Did we miss anything?
No, I'm not. That's on the list.
Except for our little footnote from our Environmental Programs Committee person. You need to unmute. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, there were two things I forgot to talk about. One was there was some discussion about updating our city website to have more information on and be more accessible as a resource. This came up when we were talking about doing this mailing that we're going to do to every single household, and you can't print very much on that. So we wanted to put URLs and point to information perhaps on our website. And the other more pressing thing is the issue of drought. Because as you all know, we're right on the edge of being drought going to be officially declared. There's already communities where there's restrictions being put in place. And so when we do this mailing to every house, this might be another opportunity as we get more information, what we need to be putting out. And so that should be on all of our radar. There's been a whole bunch of meetings. Josh Becker just had one. There's one, and so two things that are coming to the forefront right now is smoke, wildfire, preparing for wildfire, and then also drought. And all of those will have a resident educational component to them that, again, we should be aware of, and that should be part of, I think that's part of our charter, is to do community education. So how we do that is going to be, I don't know how we're going to do that, frankly, and we have to discuss it, I guess.
You've got some new committee members, and you can, come up with ideas and bring it back to council for recommendation to implement. That'd be good. Okay. Very well done. This was a good exercise. A lot of good information. Thank you all for all your hard work and everything. So we'll go on to item number 5, which is the review of our fiscal year 2021 and 22 town budget, all funds changes only. A city manager, or I don't see Robert Barone anymore. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, he's here. He's here. I'll do the kickoff. I asked him to just shorten this report to changes only from the last study session, so you're not having to go back through everything else again. So that's why the report is a lot shorter than it typically is, and it focuses just on those changes that were made since the last study session. So Robert can go through those. He doesn't have a PowerPoint. It's just an oral report. And if the council does have any specific questions, we're happy to answer them.
Okay, Robert.
Can't hear you, Robert.
You got to turn your mute up.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Hear you now?
There we go. Good now?
Good.
Okay. Sorry about that. Hello, Mayor, members of the council and public. Yes, before you is the 4th study session on the budget. We had previous study sessions that reviewed the general fund operations budget, special funds, and capital improvement program. We made some, based off of the discussions in our prior meetings, made adjustments, and we've identified our priorities and projects, and we've incorporated them into our final budget. As it is, the general fund revenues for 21-22 are projected at 17.35 million against expenditures of 16.5 million. This reflects a budget single year surplus of 839,000 before the ERAF additional below the line and transfers in and out. The overall projected ending year fund balance is 14.21 million. In the general fund, just some summary of highlight changes since our last meeting. As you're aware, the county has a shortfall. There's a countywide shortfall in fiscal year 2021 of 69 million of this amount for the VLF. Of this amount, we had 908,000 was adjusted down. Our budget was adjusted down to 908,000 at mid-year, and this was a loss of revenue of 343,000. Since this last study session, it's come out that we're anticipating an additional 157,000 loss on top of the initial mid-year budget reduction in the VLF. So this reduces our VLF to 757,000 for our fiscal year 2021. We are currently, our city and other cities, including the county, are submitting letters to the state to ensure that this gets incorporated into the 22-23 state budget to pay us back for this shortfall. So that was made at the estimated level for our at our actuals for our budget. Some other additional changes was there was an adjustment of towards interest income. So the total changes for the estimated actuals about 160,000. The biggest thing that was changed in the estimated actuals was there's additional 2.27 million as the transfers out from the general fund to the town center project. This is due to the timing of the remittance of construction contract for construction payments. So this was our year-end fund balance decreased by 2.4 million, and 2.27 of it is due to the updating of our payments to our building contractor. At the summary, at the general fund fiscal year 21-22 budget revenue, there was some slight adjustments of 37,970. It's listed in your staff reports, mainly franchise fees, other fines and forfeitures, vehicle release fees in the general fund. As far as the expenditures, there was a notable change in the couple departments in the general fund. Total changes of 100,000. Of that, the increases of 55,000 was to the police department, and this was due to the change of purchase of a vehicle from 35,000 to 95,000. It's about a $60,000 change in adjustment for the purchase of an SUV patrol vehicle. In the staff report, it lists that we are changing this due to the all-electric vehicle option at this time is not available for the town, but we will look forward to getting that update in the next couple of years when those type of vehicles are more prevalent and available for pursuit pursuit options for our police department. So the net change to the department was about an increase of 55,000. There's an increase in the administration department, about 34,000, and this is due to the RPPG Legislative Advisory Services component. It's a yearly amount of approximately 25,000. Some increases in CalOps membership fee of 3,600 and an upgrade to the code publishing system of 6,700. There was also an increase in 10,000 in the interior department for maintenance and upgrading of our cybersecurity software. In general, our general fund looks good. We have again 17.3 million to 16.5 million in expenditures. Single year surplus of 839,000. Our overall single year surplus is a negative 3,759,000, and that is due to the allocation of general fund reserves toward the completion of the town center project. So we meet our reserve requirements at the end. Our unallocated, our ending fund balance is 14.2 million. Our projected unallocated available fund balance for 21-22 is 8.4 million. In the staff report, it shows that we meet our reserve requirements, and we continue to build back up that reserve, and hopefully once the town center is complete, we will come back to the council with some opportunities for appropriations or direction from council priorities towards the use of our unallocated fund balance towards one-time use, capital projects, or paying down of unallocated liabilities. That said, that concludes this staff report for this budget study session.
Thank you, Robert. I think City Manager has some comments to make.
Just two comments. One is the police vehicle is actually 86, not 95. So that number will actually come down a little bit more. And then lastly, where Robert mentioned the $8.4 million, that's the number that we're going to come back to you over the next few months and talk about where we're going to allocate it in the CIP, setting savings funds for drainage, bike ped, and also talk about, as we adopt the budget, setting up that COP repayment plan fund, which will deposit money into to pay that down at 5 years, pay that off at 5 years. So that'll be coming back to you.
All right. That's the end of your report. We'll open it up for discussion. Any member of the council want to ask a question to Robert? Any member of the public? Anthony, do we have any member of the public?
No,
Betsy's
nobody's
still
made
on.
any indication, but we do have Betsy Colby on the line, and if you want to make a comment, Ms. Colby, you're welcome to.
Okay.
I see nothing.
All right. Bring it back to council. Any comments from council? I know that Councilmember Widmer had made a comment about it earlier in the meeting, having to relating to, wanting to make a plan to start saving money and applying monies to some of our master plan projects that we had looked at so long ago before we got kind of sidetracked with the town center. So I think that was a very well thought out and good point, and we need to agendize that for further discussion. Anybody else? Councilmember DeGoya, do you have a comment about this?
No.
Okay. Honestly, I think that we are in really good shape, in all sense of the word. And I can't tell you how grateful I am that we do have this potential reserves that we can go forward with and still see our way clear to pay off this COP. I think that was wise financial planning. So do we need a motion to accept these changes? No, it's just, okay. You're on mute. You're
You
on
do
mute.
not,
No.
you do not. This will come back to you on the 16th for adoption.
Okay, great. Well, very well done. Nice report, Robert. Thank you very much. And so the next thing on the agenda, let me get back to my agenda.
Public comments, isn't it?
Well, let's see. It's council reports and comments, and then we adjourn. No, we don't have public comments at the end anymore like that.
Okay, all right. Well,
Motion to adjourn.
you're so moved, so moved.
And second with Vice Mayor.
Second, third, fourth, fifth.
Thank you all.
See
Thank
you
you.
later.
Bye.
Thanks, all.
Bye. Have a good night.
All right.
Nice job, Madam Mayor.
Oh, thank you. I thought I said I was leaving. Oh, I did. I clicked it. You know, you have to click the leave meeting twice.
You do. It pops up and you're still there and they can hear you and see.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Have a
so
good night.
thanks. Okay.